But the outcomes in your life right now tell us exactly who you really are. You can't hide that because your thoughts will always be reflected, by your lifestyle. Okay. So any other thoughts on why thinking skills are important? Happy to hear any ideas you might have. Why do you think it's important that we gain the awareness and the ability to think properly?
Well, thinking, I think just like you said before, to determine how we behave.
Yeah.
Because if you think if you think that you're capable of doing something, then you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And if you think you can't, then you just talk yourself out of it.
Absolutely right.
So if you determine and if you think you can fit in a group, you go in the group and fit in. But if you think that you're not, you're inferior or something, you'll find, somewhere you won't fit in because your thoughts.
You've already programmed yourself to think that you wouldn't fit in.
Yeah. Same thing with exams. If you think you're going to
exactly
pass the exam before you get into the room, if you think you're going to fail this exam before you enter, so you can fail the exam before getting in.
Absolutely right. And it's good you pointed out about the exams as well, because if somebody thinks that they're going to pass an exam, right, they're more likely to go and study. Because if they already believe that they're not going to pass it, they're like, it's a waste of time I studied because I won't, kind of attitude. Yeah. So it really does affect everything. And I said beliefs and then I changed to thoughts, but really beliefs, I just want to bring this up here as well, is that a belief is nothing carved in stone. A belief is just a thought that you've held over and over and over again for so long that you've come to accept it as truth, undeniable truth. So beliefs can be changed. Beliefs can be good or bad for you. Okay, the bad ones we call limiting beliefs because they limit you from doing what you should be able to do. Okay, the good ones are empowering beliefs for obvious reasons. So, such as you believe you'll pass an exam. That just having the empowering belief just motivates you to go and do stuff. As opposed to just sitting down because you feel what's the point. So yeah, that's what thoughts do for you as well.
Speaking of limiting beliefs when you say it.
Yeah.
Because like many years ago, maybe my background where I come from, just typical example, I wanted to buy a combi to use as emergency taxis in my country, and my mom was like, women don't think like that. You shouldn't think so big. It's not for you to think that way, and that's limiting.
That's correct. That's correct. Because the end result of that line of thinking was what happened in the end?
I didn't do it.
There you go.
But the person I told to do it did it and was successful.
Was it a man or a man?
It was a man. It was my brother.
You know what? And there's absolutely no reason why you wouldn't have succeeded. There's really no reason why you wouldn't have succeeded.
It's even like a job, isn't it? Most people think, there's no way I can get a job as maybe a child nurse or manager. Yeah. So there's no way I'm going to, so we think that we can't get the job, so we never apply for it.
You don't even apply for it.
And
exactly. Yeah. And that is such a glaring example of a limiting belief because you've just limited right there your opportunities for progress. You just cut yourself off from possibilities when you think you can't. So and that's why I like this quote by Henry Ford. The late he said, "If you think you can, or if you think you can't, you're right. Either way, you're correct. If you think you can, you find, you'll be motivated to do the things that make you get the results. If you think you can't, you will equally find reasons, to not do anything, and you won't get any results. So that's right. Okay, so we basically covered the first couple of questions there. Another thing I want to ask, which was typed differently in this feedback form, but I just want to ask to make sure that this point came out clearly in what I was sharing, is what would you say, because I explained to you, as I was growing up what happened and then when the turnaround began for me. What would you say brought about that turnaround in my life from the story I shared?
Acceptance that they couldn't change what had happened in the past. Also believing that you could become what you wanted to become as a person.
Yep. That's correct. That's part of it. Any other?
I think also realization that, you know, what happened in the past is what affected your behavior and your carriage and everything else. And then realizing, you know, that you have no control over that. And then
Over what happened in the past.
what happened in the past,
Yeah.
and choosing not to be a victim, and you know, and the process you went through to just get yourself out of that. Yeah, you know, self-development, you believe when you choose not to be a victim.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly right. So,
Last week you also mentioned that, because I don't know the background for
no, it's the
today.
same one, it's the same introduction
you
story.
mentioned that while during the time when you were sitting at home being a mom, you left everything, you left your career and you concentrated on being a mom. But you came to a time when you realized that those A's which you were getting, you are still the same person.
That's right.
I think that as well is a turnaround of thinking, of saying, yes, if I could do it then, I can still do it now.
Yeah, good. So one thing that everything you've said has in common is what? Thinking. So basically my thinking changed. So basically the summary, the whole gist of this introduction is supposed to bring out what you've all said, which was that my turnaround came from a turnaround of my thinking. I started, you know, my thinking about myself. Even before I knew why I had all those self-esteem issues, but the time I started thinking about myself differently was when my whole performance and outlook and everything changed. And so that's the bottom line of what I wanted to bring out from this introduction, is that the thinking affected everything else, behavior, feelings, and everything. Okay, so good. Thank you for sharing all of that. Because we're running kind of late today, we'll skip the Wheel of Life exercise for now, but I can give you the handout for that. And we will go to today's session, which is called How to Be Selfish to Succeed. And it's also known as How to Love Yourself. Alright? So that's what I want to share with us today. I was given just 10 minutes to share this last week at a talk I went for in the evening. So now we have more than 10 minutes, so I'm hoping to, you know, tell you a bit more about it. Because the people at the talk were wanting me to spend more time talking about it, but I had a program to stick to. So basically, loving yourself is something which you need to come to grips with doing, because it's a healthy state of mind to be in. I'm not referring to selfishness to that's at the expense of other people. I'm not referring to selfishness or self-serving, self-seeking behavior, because that is also at the expense of other people. But I'm referring to a state of mind where, because of the kind of person you are in your own skin, you're just very, very comfortable and happy with who you are. Yeah, your relationship with others is improved. Your relationship with God is improved. Okay, so you find out more about what this practically means in your day-to-day life as we go on. Okay, so before I bring that one into the picture, I just want to ask you, what are the two greatest commandments that we're told to obey? Any ideas? Yeah, love God and love your neighbor as you love yourself. Okay, so love God is the first and the greatest, with all our heart and everything, and then love your neighbor as yourself. Yeah, but somewhere between those two commandments, there's an implied commandment there. Yeah, and that implied commandment is that you should love yourself. So that actually comes before loving your neighbor, because, you know, it's like God has already assumed that you love yourself, so he says love your neighbor as you love yourself. Okay, so but very often we talk about loving God, very often we talk about loving our neighbor, which is good, but we often neglect to talk about loving ourselves, because, and that is important, because until you love yourself the way you're supposed to, you can't really fulfill the other one, which says love your neighbor. Okay, and that's why you find that many people who are into things like bullying or abusing other people and things like that are not happy themselves. So how can they love other people if they're not even, you know, at a good place with themselves? And so that's just what I want to share with us today, to bring out the awareness that it is important to love yourself. When you're on an airplane and you're traveling, right, and they're giving you all those safety instructions and everything, don't they tell you, if you remember, You know, that you should, you know, put your own oxygen mask first before you do that of your child. You know, or anybody else. Basically, look after yourself first, and then you can look after somebody else.